Chapter 2. Ash and Smoke. The fire in the manor's study had gone to embers. Rowan hadn't stirred in hours. A single candle wept wax across the oak desk beside him. His coat remained untouched over the chairback, though the night air had turned cold. In his hand, unmoving, rested a letter. The seal remained unbroken. His father's handwriting curled across the parchment like ivy over a stone. Likely written weeks ago, before fever hollowed out the man who once ruled this estate like it was alive. Rowan hadn't read it. He wasn't ready to. What could it say? Be kind. Lead wisely. Forgive them. Become better than me. Words too late. From a man who had been loved, Rowan was not loved here. The village remembered his silence, his absence, the way he left 4 years ago and only returned when sickness pulled him back like a leash. They did not welcome him. They whispered instead. And Rowan listened. That morning, Mira Hollow walked to the village market with a scarf knotted over her braid and her basket light against her hip. The sky was pale and bruised with leftover storm. Wind moved through the stalls like a mouth half open. Chickens clucked through puddles. A boy chased a dog into a row of drying linens, and still, Mira felt them watching her. She went to the manor, didn't she? Summoned, like a servant. They say she spoke back, looked him dead in the eye. Of course she did. That girl's got forest blood in her. She didn't lift her head. She picked sage and vinegar, counted coins with her calloused fingers, and ignored the stir, until he arrived. The black mare appeared just before noon, hooves catching on the stone path. This time, Rowan held the reins himself. He rode without servants, without a carriage, without warning. People stilled. Bread was left half-bagged. The blacksmith forgot to hammer. Even Widow Clemens stood from her chair. He stepped down with practiced ease coats swirling, gloves dark as ash, green eyes glinting like wet glass. He walked through the market like he belonged there. He didn't. He stopped in front of Mira. "Mira," he said, low and even. She looked up slowly. "You sent for me once," I answered. "I'm not sending," he replied. "I'm asking." That would require manners. His lips twitched a shadow of a smirk. "I need a word." "Then speak it here." Her words darted. A pause spread the air. The butcher's boy leaned closer to his mother. A girl dropped her apple and forgot to pick it up. Mira could feel them all, their eyes, their judgments, their hunger for heat. "I won't have this conversation in a fish stall," Rowan said tightly. She gave him a look that could strip bark from trees. Then, without a word, she turned and walked toward the woods. He followed. Behind the chapel, where the trees grew wilder, Mira stopped. "Make it fast," she said. "I reviewed your tenancy," Rowan said. "It's illegal. You've been living on Thornfield land without any record of payment. Your father knew. He chose not to tax me," Mira said. "That was sentimental," he replied curtly. She glared. "That was human. Something you struggle with." "I'm offering a reduced sum," he said, voice like steel. "In return, you'll continue to treat my father and keep the village from burning." Mira blinked. It wasn't kindness. It wasn't cruelty. It was a deal, cold and controlled. Her voice lowered. "I'm not your physician, and I'm not your pawn." Rowan stepped closer. "Number, but you are the only one here who knows what she's doing." Before she could retort, another voice slipped through the trees. "Well, this is charming." Rowan threatening a woman in the woods. Again. They turned. A man leaned against the stone gate dressed in travel-wrinkled linen and a coat dusted with road dirt. His blonde hair curled slightly, his smile glinting with mischief. Lucien Vale, Rowan's closest friend. Known for charm and scandal in equal measure. Exactly the kind of man who could talk a queen into dancing barefoot. "Lucien," Rowan muttered, jaw flexing. "You weren't expected till tonight." Lucien straightened. "And miss this delight? The infamous Mira Hollow in a glare match with you? Gods, this village is going to be fun." He turned to Mira with a slight bow. Lucien Vale. Delighted. She didn't smile. Of course you are. He's better than the rumours, he said brightly. No wonder you're scowling, Rowan. You've been outmatched. Rowan said nothing, but Mira felt the shift, something taut beneath his stillness. Not jealousy, not yet, but a kind of cold. Lucien smiled wider, and somehow, without touching her, still leaned too close. By the time they returned to the edge of the market, Mira walked ahead of them both. Lucien and Rowan murmured behind her 2 men from a world she never trusted. One cold, one fire wrapped in charm, but once, just once, she looked over her shoulder. And Rowan? He was already looking at her. No smile, no warmth, only something dark, tangled, unspoken. End of chapter.